I'll turn the share on now so I don't forget. And stand by.
Whatever.
Tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, we're looking ahead to the weekend, Super Bowl Sunday, and a new pattern that emerges next week. Can you say trough in the west and ridge in the east? Also, Saturday's forecast high temperatures for eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, and Joe's early call snow forecast for Sunday, such as it is, tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, your go-to place for salt, sand, Pelado, calcium deicer, you name it, they got it there. It says so right on the sign, so it's got to be true. And we're going to also show you what it looks like on the outside at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Still some snow blowers left in case yours is kaput. We've got spreaders in case the wheels have fallen off yours or you need more Pelado or Mag ice pellets and flakes. And of course, tons and tons of rock salt at Omni True
Tons.
Value. Tons, yes, at Omni True Value Hardware. 631 756 1125 is the phone number, and the website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
Yes, it is, isn't it? So,
Yes.
good evening. Good evening. What?
And here we are on a Thursday, the 10th of February, Joe, and
Yes.
we're looking at a Super Bowl Sunday that may have snow.
You know that
How much? We'll find out in a moment.
You know that the winter's over crowd is out there screaming up and down. It's not even. It is the 10th of February.
It can't.
It's over, according to them.
It can't. The Ridge can't keep returning so soon.
They just
please.
Exactly. They just can't handle change, and we've been in this pattern since. Well, I mean, you could date it January 1st or 2nd, or I kind of dated the 4th when the P&A Ridge went positive, the Pacific North America Index coming out of that December pattern. So from the 4th to the 4th, 27 days plus 31 plus another 37 days divided by 7, that's 5 weeks. That's a fair amount of time. I've seen patterns sometimes go 8 or 9 weeks. But I would say the average is about 6, and this is kind of about average, and it needs to relax. And I think that's what we're going to see. I don't think it's a permanent flip. I mean, from what I've been looking at on the polar vortex, Dr. Judah Cohen made an interesting tweet today along those lines. He's the godfather of the polar vortex in the stratosphere, and he says that it's been pretty much an adventure of a strong polar vortex that ebbs and flows. It gets tight like a ball, like it did in December, and then it stretches like it did in January, and elongates down into the eastern part of Canada and the Northeast, and then it ebbs again, which is I think what we're doing now. And if you look at some of the long-range guidance, it wants to stretch again toward the end of the forecast period. So if that's the case, then we'll probably see this pattern we're going to. It'll hang around for a little while, but I don't think it's going to hang around for the next 8 weeks. There'll be some interruptions in between, so it's never over till it's over. That's how I look at it.
Well, that's what Yogi Berra said, but it would be interesting that we go into a pattern now where we flip over to mild temperatures, balmy conditions, into the good part of the month of March. And then just when spring, astronomical spring, officially arrives, in comes another change to colder weather and maybe a blizzard just in time for the baseball season if it happens to begin on schedule on March 31st.
Right.
Wouldn't that be lovely, Joe?
Lovely, yes. And you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. The polar vortex is going to split come during March. Then we're going to get into a negative North Atlantic oscillation for the first part of spring, and we'll have backdoor cold front after backdoor cold front coming down and keeping us in that lovely marine layer that loves to cover the Northeast
We
in the
we
springtime.
never we're never going to warm up again.
Yes.
But you can't. I've learned one thing in doing this over all of these years. You can't please everybody. If there's one bunch that is enjoying the cold and snow, the other bunch is saying, when are we going to warm up? And conversely, when we warm up, the people who love cold and snow start complaining. So
Right.
it's a no-win situation in this business.
Correct. And I would add to that, never say never, because sometimes even in the most dire of patterns for snow lovers, you get that little opening that somehow finds a way, and it happens. Except maybe in the most snow-starved years when the pattern is just so dead against it that it can't even do that. So anyway, uh, I did an early call. And after I did my early call, I saw WPC's updated forecast for Sunday, and I looked at it with wonderment, and I was just thinking, okay, maybe they have something they're looking at that I'm not seeing, because I don't know if you've seen it, Joe, but it's a little odd. Okay, let's just put it at that.
Odd in the sense that what? That these things just don't add up. The upper air doesn't seem to add up to the surface system,
Well, the
or
the
vice.
the guidance that I looked at and the stuff that they looked at obviously were not the same thing. I don't know. Well, look, we'll do this. We'll bring up some maps. We'll start with my early call. But before we do that, we want to say hi to everybody on the chat board tonight. Please play nice in the sandbox and be respectful. We are also welcoming any new viewers, because we've had quite a few new viewers and new subscribers to my YouTube channel. If you like the show, do please hit the like button, because that makes Joe and I rather happy. And especially because this is the last day of the week and we're planning to have the next 2 days off. So you can do that by just subscribing to YouTube. Use your Gmail account, you subscribe, and then you get notifications, because we're on 5 days a week, usually Sunday through Thursday, and Sunday we are on in the morning at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. So we will not be interrupting your Super Bowl Sunday. It's just to give you a heads up. Okay, so let's start with my early call, and you may call this, Joe, a CYA forecast, a cover your you know what, and I wouldn't necessarily
Yes.
disagree with you. I the coastal low is not a factor here. This is all about the upper trough, and that makes it a little dicey, because sometimes with these upper troughs, you can get surprises and sometimes you can get disappointments. And I'm sort of leaning on the idea that maybe it's going to be more of a disappointment than a surprise. So I just kind of covered for the possibility, and I looked at what the stuff I saw, and basically coastal New Jersey, Long Island, southern Connecticut to Rhode Island to southeastern Massachusetts. I'm covering for a chance for a coating to maybe somebody winds up with an inch or two, or maybe even a little bit more than that. And then just north and west of there, I put a narrow area of a coating to maybe as much as an inch, and then I just shut the whole thing down once you go north and west of New York City, and not that far north and west, by the way. I pretty much left it. There might be some snow showers when you go up north and west of that black line that runs from just north of Dover to Wilmington, Philadelphia, uh, between Wilmington and Dover to Philadelphia, Trenton, just west of New York City, north and west of Bridgeport, north and west of Hartford, and then continuing on into Springfield, Mass, and then kind of making a right turn toward Lowell, Mass, right in there. I didn't. These little ones, Joe. Sometimes you work harder trying to figure those out than you do the bigger ones, and this is one of those little ones.
I noticed, Joe, that you have, the boundary between coating to maybe 1 inch,
Right.
and then you have the chance for a coating to 2 inches. and that line more or less goes right down just inland of the coastline of New Jersey. I'm wondering if you're thinking that there might be a tad more, let's say, along the south shore of Long Island, or even the immediate Jersey coast. I mean, a little more, maybe a surprise, maybe more than 2 inches,
Uh,
because
it's
all it is
it's
it's
not
really
in.
just a ripple of it's a ripple of low pressure. Presumably that'll move up along this front, which will pass on by Saturday late into Saturday night. But the thing is that um, and the timing also. I mean, if you believe in the NAM, for example, this is in and out before lunchtime on Sunday. If you believe the European, it doesn't even come in until sometime during the afternoon and doesn't leave until about the third quarter
I
of the
think
big game on Sunday
I,
night.
I think you got those reversed. It's the other way around. It's the European is the first one.
Really?
Yeah, it's the other way around. Especially off the latest NAM, which has it snowing half the night on Sunday
Oh, I
night.
don't look at the I don't
I
look at the
understand that,
latest
but
NAM. I don't
it's
look at the
kind of
18Z.
it's kind of along the lines of the 12Z. I think you got them flipped in reverse. But yeah, I
Hmm.
think east that line is pretty much represents the Garden State Parkway, which is about 10 miles inland. At least it is in Southern Ocean County. So I just kind of use the Garden State Parkway as one of my mile markers, let's say, when drawing snow maps, especially for the Jersey coast. So yeah, I mean, it could wind up being that's the area that I thought, and then Long Island. Maybe if there's enough moisture, you grind out a couple of inches in some places, but it was almost not worth doing, to tell you the truth. And then take a look at what WPC did, which I cannot for the life of me figure out. Now I got two WPC maps. I can't see which one is which. So is it this one? No, it's not that one. Is it this one? Yep, it's this one. Now look at this. This is all right. So this is the 72-hour probability, Joe, of at least two. Okay, at least 2 inches. I'll make the colors a little darker here, and then I'll put the state boundaries back on. They should come on in a moment. Look where they have the higher probabilities for at least two. Interior Maryland, interior southeastern Pennsylvania, northwest Jersey, okay? I mean, it's a 30 to 40% chance of at least two. And then up in northern Connecticut, western Massachusetts, and central Massachusetts, on up into southern Vermont. For the life of me, I looked at all the guidance. I didn't see one model show any type of heavier precip in this zone. If anything, if you look at the other ones, if you look at, for example, Mrs. Ann Sambles, okay, who bless her heart, she always tries very hard to accommodate in this zone that they have in southern New Jersey. Okay, the northern line is probably a little bit further south on Mrs. Ann Sambles, but she generates she generates 3/10 of an inch of liquid down here, between 3 and 4 tenths. So why would you put the higher probabilities north and west of there? I don't know. They even have, by the way, take a look at this. This is the other thing that shocked me. Take a look at the probability for at least four. Okay, they actually have a 10% in the light green is 10 to 20%. They have a 10 to 20% probability of at least four in northwest New Jersey, northeast Pennsylvania, down into south central Pennsylvania, north central Maryland, into western Virginia. Honestly, for the life of me, I don't get it. I really don't.
Well, that goes hand in hand. If you flick over to me now, I'm sharing the. I believe this map that I'm calling up is. It always used to be a hand drawn, I think, map, and now they decided to change it a little bit and show shaded contours in blue, green, and red. But this is the day three probability of snowfall for 4 inches or more, which runs from Saturday night 7 p.m. Eastern time to Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. This was issued today at 2026Z, which was 3:26. It's a little bit before 3:30 in the afternoon. They don't give a name of a forecast. That's the thing is really annoying, is that they used to give you at least the initial or the name of the person who came up with this. Now they just simply say forecaster WPC. But you can see just what you were talking about, Joe. Uh, they have a 10%, 10 to 40% chance of 4 or more inches, at least 4 or more inches, across much of eastern West Virginia, western Maryland, up into the eastern part of Pennsylvania, including northwestern New Jersey, right over my house in the lower Hudson Valley, and continuing on north and east up through northern Connecticut and into central sections of Massachusetts. There you go. At least if you're going to have this kind of a scenario of 4 or more inches with 10% to 40% chance, you would, and I agree with you, would have expected to be right along the immediate Jersey coast, maybe eastern Long Island.
Yeah.
No, no, they have it. They have it inland to the north and west of New York City. And even in the New York City technical discussion, they were talking about, well, let's see, how much could we get out of this? Maybe an inch or two, with the highest amounts probably generally south and east of New York City. So the folks over at the local National Weather Service office thinking the same lines of what we're thinking. And meanwhile, the folks at WPC are pushing that area of possible significant snows to the north and west of New York. I don't get it either.
Yeah, Alan Casper doesn't get it either. He may be watching right now, but he doesn't get it either. By the way, that wasn't like subliminal seduction that the Omni sign just popped up when Joe unshared. I don't know why it did that, um,
It
but
does that.
yeah, I don't know why. Because if I have it. Uh, I have it hidden behind our video screen, which is up on the front now. But if I take it out, then it goes to black. So anyway, like I said, it's not subliminal seduction, but they get an extra they get an extra millisecond there of promotion. Yeah, I'm not getting it either. So in the meantime, not too much happening as we take a look. I'm going to bring up the satellite and we'll go from there and see what's happening. Hang on a second. By the way, you like the new show open there with the graphics?
Yeah.
Now we got to get.
It's almost like
We
it's
have
almost like the beginning of some of those old time game shows
well,
in the 1950s. The only thing that's missing is the drum roll.
no. Well, either that or
See, it just popped up again. We just popped up with the Omni again.
oh, it
They're
did.
getting a lot of coverage tonight.
No,
Yeah.
the other thing that the most important thing is missing is Carol Merrill and the silver tea set from the Michael C. Fina company, and those lovely
Yes.
those lovely candelabras with the blue the blue
Yeah.
candles. You know, if you wait long
Let
enough,
me.
if you wait long enough, everything comes back in style. That just is a general rule.
I do know. I do know three. I do know three people who have waited long enough to hear their names because they are the first three to hit the super chat jar this evening. David Fuller, Ruthless Goat, and Janet Dunn. Thank you all for hitting super chats this evening.
Ruthless is going to love it in Loveland, Colorado, with the trough coming in the west. Maybe he'll get some more snow chances out there because the guy's an avid snow freak. He loves it. He loves it up there in the beautiful mountains of Colorado. Meanwhile,
Yes.
there's some pretty much the southern half. If you draw a line across the United States east-west and cut it in half, or maybe even a little bit further north than that, was a really nice day. I got to 56 here. It's the warmest day I've had in quite a while after a morning low of 24. It's wonderful, Joe. You go out in the morning, it is cold, but this morning the 24 didn't actually feel like 24 for some reason. There was absolutely not a breath of wind, nothing. And then as soon as the sun gets just up above the mountain, the temperature just rockets, and suddenly you're in the 40s. So it's nice. I was out today, didn't have a jacket on. I just had my sweatshirt and enjoyed myself doing some things outdoors. But a beautiful day across the southern half of the United States. Cloud-free skies, clouds all along the northern tier. However, as you run from Maine all the way back in toward the Pacific Northwest. And as we take a look at the radar, give it a quick refresh, Mr. Chaffee, and show everybody the latest. And got some activity going on up in upstate New York and coming off of Lake Ontario, and also some precip that's leaving eastern Maine. We have some radar echoes, and quite a few of them, up in Wisconsin and back into parts of southern Minnesota and through South Dakota, northwestern Iowa, and further west, extending up into Montana. And in fact, it was up earlier. The watches and warnings map across the United States has been really just quiet, but we have blizzard warnings up for eastern North Dakota and western Minnesota. There's 7 counties that border North Dakota and Minnesota. And on the other side, there's 9 counties under blizzard warnings there. Shall I randomly pick a spot and see what they're actually forecasting? The answer is yes. So let's see. This is from Grand Forks, North Dakota, where it is 36. They have a blizzard warning up. Let's see what they're going for. Blizzard warnings. Total snow accumulation, Joe, of up to 1 inch. And winds gusting to 50 miles an hour. Plan on slippery road conditions. Widespread blowing snow could significantly reduce visibility. Hazardous conditions impacting the morning commute. Dangerously cold wind chills as low as 35 below zero could cause frostbite on exposed skin in as little as 10 minutes. Very interesting. So they get an inch of snow and a 50-mile-an-hour wind. They get a blizzard warning because blizzards are not necessarily about heavy snow falling. It's about visibility. I don't know who.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the forces of the public changed the rules on what a blizzard means. Because up here, anything that's over a foot of snow is considered a blizzard for some. Not by what the
Well,
Weather Service puts the wind in there when they make the determination as far as the forecast is concerned. But you'll hear people say, "Oh, it's a blizzard out there. We've got 15 inches of snow on the ground." Yeah, but if you don't have the wind, you don't have a blizzard, and that's all there
the
is to it.
ground. You could also have ground blizzards where the snow that has fallen, and you have bright sunshine. I've had that a couple of times in my life driving. I remember once driving off of the Taconic Parkway onto the Sawmill, and this was right after a very significant heavy snowfall, and it was bright and sunny. Except all of a sudden, a tremendous gust of wind came along, picked up all the snow, and before I knew it, it wasn't exactly whiteout conditions, but all of a sudden, my visibility went down to something like 100 or 200 feet. So even when it's not snowing, you could still have that cut and reduced visibility.
Oh yeah.
By the way, we had 2 record high temperatures today in the immediate tri-state area. We had a record high temperature of 56 that was set at Islip today, breaking the previous record of 54 that was set back in 2001. 2001 must have been a very mild day on February the 10th, because we also have a record at JFK that was 56 degrees, and that broke the previous record also set in 2001. So it was a balmy day here in New York City too. I don't know how warm it got here in Putnam Valley. I did not, but I will tell you this: walking around this afternoon outside, and it was quite nice, quite lovely. So this might have been the nicest and mildest day we've had here since the start of the new year.
Yeah, congratulations to Islip and Kennedy for breaking records with the small data sets at both places. Whatever.
Yeah, how long have they? I mean, back in the day when we were at News 12, when you were doing News 12 Long Island, you were using the records that were set from Brookhaven Labs,
right?
Correct, because Islip didn't go that far.
Right, and Brookhaven Labs are records, which is maybe about, I don't know, not that many miles, maybe about 12 or so miles or east of Islip, northeast of Islip, because they're on the cold side of the Long Island Expressway. Their records go back to the 1940s. The other thing is the records at Islip, especially the snowfall records, are dubious because of the fact that the airport used to be shut at night, and actually, it used to be shut at night. It wasn't until maybe the early 2000s. I don't remember exactly when they went to a full 24-hour operation as far as keeping it open and having weather observer there during the nighttime hours. So if the snow fell at night, it didn't get measured. So you've got that whole period from say 2000 to 2005. There's a whole bunch of storms that the snow fell at night, and when you look at the records, you'll see that there were places that got 10, 12 inches, whatever it was, and they'll have two because it
Yeah.
was because they came in the morning and they had, they wrote a number down, whatever it was, or they had 2 inches the night before they shut down, and that's the number that they finished with. So you have to, the Brookhaven numbers are far more, they're accurate. They are definitely. That's why I sort of I kind of stay away from the ice slip snowfall records, and I've tried to tell a few people, but it's like talking to a brick wall sometimes. I've must have
I
repeated
mean,
it to
they
so many people so many times that when they use it, it's like you really can't use that because it's not as a normal because it's not really accurate.
and after the Kennedy inaugural snowstorm in 1961, it was either the 21st or 22nd of January. Brookhaven recorded what today would probably be an impossibly low temperature to try to achieve on the island of Long. They got down to something like what, Joe? 21, 22 below zero
Minus
at Brookhaven. You
23,
remember that?
minus 23. Now I've seen West Hampton Beach, which is FOK, Grabrisky Airport, the Grabrisky Airport. I've seen them get
The
down to
Grabisky.
minus 18. It's not impossible if they've got it. They have to have a deep enough snow cover, a clear sky, not a breath of wind. I That's the one record I always wish I could have experienced to see, and it was all radiational cooling, so it's not as if it was below zero in the urban areas, but it radiates like mad out there in eastern Long Island. It's
Right.
also interior South Jersey, in the Pine Barrens there. Oh boy, I mean they go below zero in a heartbeat sometimes if there's any kind of snow cover on the ground. Meanwhile, just back to WPC and their snowfall map. This is the probability for at least 2 inches, and this ends on Sunday morning. So now you look at their probability for at least four, that covers the next forecast period. So they're thinking that nothing's going to happen until after Sunday morning and that it'll go into Sunday evening with regards to any snow if to match the logic of the forecast because they don't have a probability of two uh, through 7 a.m. on Sunday in the areas that they have the probability of four. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. But this is the probability of at least 2 inches in and around the Great Lakes, the Adirondacks, northwestern Maine. And why don't we check to see what's going on out west? And not a whole lot, but here, if Ruthless Goat wants to be happy, there are actually some probabilities of at least two running down the mountains west of Denver. And with regards to, did I take that other map? No, I still have the long range map up here. We'll check out the rest of the country in the long range. And the next day of no, this is the what did I do here? Do I have this up twice? No, that's WPC. That's WPC. That's WPC. There's the long range. Okay, I do actually have it up twice, wasting valuable window space, by the way. If we go out, I'll just widen it out because this now goes to next Thursday. So you start to see some snow showing up in the Pacific Northwest on Tuesday in terms of the probability, but the probabilities are definitely going to shift now with this pattern change. Wednesday, you see some patches there up in the mountains, and then next Thursday, I think they have a rather large area from Colorado extending through the Central Plains and then on up through into the Great Lakes and then into Canada. So the Northeast is nada as far as snow next week, and it makes sense because the pattern is going to flip and it's going to be against it. In fact, since I have it up already, we can take a look at what happens in the long range. And here we go. Let's roll it back. Let's start with our trough here in the eastern part of the United States. And again, it's sharpening up too late. The trough is just not sharpening up in the same way, for example, as the blizzard did. That's a fairly strong short wave that's dropping down, but the trough doesn't get neutral till it's right on the coast and then lifts up to the northeast and goes on its merry way toward Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. So the ocean low here is not going to be a factor. It's really about the upper trough and what that can generate as it goes through. And then after that pulls out, you can see troughing dropping into the western part of the United States. Unlike in December, though, the trough is not dropping. The December trough was right along the west coast and went all the way down. You had to be, if you were just east of the Rockies, you really were not getting into the cold air and the snow. It was all in California and on up into Washington and Oregon and Nevada. Well, this trough is actually going to be dropping down a little bit further east. It's more in the Rockies than it is along the west coast or off the west, actually along the west coast. And then it's going to swing eastward. We'll get a cold front at the end of next week with some rain. There's another arm that comes around next weekend. And then that pulls up on the new run. And you'll notice that you get some ridging back into the west. Come on, load. Oh, God. The circle of death. There we go. Uh, I'm just trying to get to the end of the forecast period. And as we get to the end of the forecast period, there's not you have a ridge off the southeast. It's off the southeast coast. You get a little bit more of a colder flow that starts to come down from Canada there into at least the Great Lakes, but it's still going to be a little bit on the warm side on this run. And this takes us out, by the way, to February 26th. So we're getting closer and closer to March 1st. But the 12Z, on the other hand, says no, no. After day 10, the trough wants to drop back into the eastern part of the United States, and there it is. This is at the end of the forecast period there on the day 15 and 16. I mean, obviously, who knows whether that's right or not, because you know how much that changes from run to run. There's a trough there 1 minute, there's a ridge there the next. So we always look at these things with a bit of a grain of salt. But I think the most important thing is we'll just watch the progress of the Le Vortex Polar, as I like to call it, and see what that does. If it's still in this stretching and ebbing and flowing between being wrapped up like a tight ball up in the to the north over the Arctic, or whether it stretches out like it did during the month of January to allow cold air to come back into the Northeast. If that's what Dr. Judah Cohen says he expects to continue. Wash, rinse, repeat, he says. So until proven otherwise, the trend is your friend, and that's what he's going for.
Well, right now I'm sharing the Climate Prediction Center probability map for the potential for heavy snow.
Okay, hang on.
I brought this.
Hang on. Got to bring you up on the screen there. Go ahead.
I brought this map up yesterday, and if you remember, the southern edge of this line was practically into New York and a coastal plain of New England. Now they have pushed it back well to the north. This, I assume, this slight chance for possible heavy snow is affiliated or associated with a cold front that is projected by next Thursday to be pressing on down from the north and west across the Great Lakes into upstate New York and into northern New England. And as it does so, as it passes through, I suppose, it changes the temperature quick enough from mild to cold and allows for general rain showers, which will be falling here probably next Thursday behind that front, switching quickly over to snow and maybe putting down, a few inches or whatever across, again, the lower peninsula of Michigan, northwestern and western New York State, northern Vermont, the northern half of Maine, northernmost New Hampshire. But again, realize that yesterday this area was larger. There was a much broader area for snow. This is now shrunk now to what you see here. And who knows if that cold front for next Thursday slows up even more. Tomorrow night, they may not even be showing the possibility for any kind of snow or any kind of significant snow for the places that you see here right now.
Yeah, they kind of had it too far south yesterday based on what some of the models were showing. Uh, now it looks like it makes much more sense, and we're gonna get some rain out of this, and Omni gets another plug, which is fine.
And it's a case where next week, whereas we're going to go into a pattern of cold weather for the coming days, starting on Sunday into early next week, we warm up again very quickly, and it would not be surprising if next Thursday we were back in the 50s. We'll be in the 50s or near 50 tomorrow, and again on Saturday. Then we'll see that go away for a while, but we may very well be back to or above 50 by next Thursday after a little 3 day respite from mild temperatures here Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week.
Well, you're absolutely right about it getting cold because now here it comes. I have the GFS up. We can pull up a couple of different models with regards to what may happen on Sunday, but we've got this Arctic front that's going to come through on Saturday, later on Saturday. It will not prevent temperatures from climbing up into the 50s and maybe well up into the 50s. Who knows? Somebody, if there's any kind of sun, somebody might get to 60 or even low 60s, especially southern New Jersey and down into Maryland and Northeast Virginia. The front stalls offshore. You can see the way the isobars are kind of structured here off the coast, right in there. You've got here's your front. It's weak. There's a low that'll probably form somewhere here, and you've got this area of snow on the GFS that it forms down in Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware, and it kind of pushes up to the northeast. You can't see the hours between uh, 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. But it starts to pull it away as the coastal low develops way out and moves away south of Nova Scotia and toward Newfoundland. So the GFS, if you want to get an idea just in terms of the upper air, you can see how broad this all is with terms of the thickness lines, the blue thickness lines. The trough really doesn't sharpen up until it goes by. And Joe, we've got there's a 498 thickness that gets down almost to Binghamton. I mean, this is I'm sorry, yeah, right there. So right about to Binghamton on Monday morning, there's a 498 thickness, uh, and this is a very cold high that's coming in. But as fast as it comes in, it goes out because the trough pulls out. There's a weak little front on Tuesday night here. Not quite, I wouldn't call it a back door, but it's a weak little front with a high to the north that holds the cold, brings a little shot of cold air for Wednesday, not like Monday, but it slows the warm up. And then after that high goes out, then we get into the southwest wind, and we're going to warm up considerably Thursday and Friday. And then here comes a storm that moves out of the plains, and the potential maybe for some big snows for parts of Kansas, northeast Kansas, into Iowa, Wisconsin, on up into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Gets down to a 976 low, Joe. There's a very strong gale center here going up into the Great Lakes. The gradient there extremely tight on both sides. But the storm tracks way to our west. So we'll get a cold front here with probably some showers on Friday. And then that goes by. Turns a little colder next weekend, but dry. And something goes by to our south here out of the Gulf. It actually has freezing rain and snow in the mountains of North Carolina and Virginia. So even when you're in a pattern that's not favorable, you can have if you get a little opening, a little energy to run along in the northern stream, which is kind of what we have here with this colder high coming up, uh, and you get uh, just the right setup. It's not impossible that you could wind up with a little bit of precip here that's in the form of some frozen. Although the GFS doesn't really show anything uh, coming up our way, but it does at least show a low offshore. So as always with weather, there's always something to watch, and I guess we'll see how that evolves in the long range. Then that goes out, high goes out, which start all over again, uh, and again on the warmish side as we head toward February 22nd, 23rd on this run. On the next run, who knows? Now, with respect to the thing for Sunday, I'm going to bring up the old dam run. For you, I'll bring the 12Z up, Joe. For me, I'll bring the 18Z. Okay, I think that's fair. But here,
It doesn't. You could bring up 18Z. I'm not going to. I'm not going to say a whole heck of a lot,
Listen,
but
the model's been so squirrely lately. Does it really matter which one we bring up? But if you take a look at
sure.
The NAM during Sunday has very little going on, and then suddenly it gels up precip Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening. This is at 8 o'clock Sunday evening, and it's got the snow from southeastern New England down to Long Island, central and south of 195 in New Jersey, the southern half of Delaware, the Delmarva Peninsula, southeast Virginia, and even into North Carolina. But again, I don't know why they have the 4 inch line outside of the area where the models are showing snow. But this is what the NAM does, and this was the 12Z run. The 18Z shows something similar, just maybe a little bit more robust. This is at the 18Z run, so this is at 7 o'clock Monday evening, and I'll just roll it back. Same idea here. It actually holds the snow for another 6 hours in coastal New Jersey and Long Island, and in southeastern New England. It doesn't produce a lot, Joe. It produces maybe a few inches in areas south and east of New York City, and Long Island, and then into southeastern New England. Uh, I'm not. I don't know whether I accept the NAM's proposition that it's going to be snowing here from, say, starting up sometime Sunday afternoon after 1 o'clock and snowing until 1 o'clock in the morning on Monday. That seems an awful long time, considering where the low is and considering how the upper trough is. But a model does what a model does, and if I could bring up the European, they were kind of the same. The RGEM has everything offshore, and we don't see a flake or an ice pellet. So I kind of just sort of took the course of least regret and went with the Europeans. Like, the European has some snow late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, and then it pulls it out to the east. So I just put it in essentially to cover myself in case something happens. My confidence is not exactly on the high side. We're back up full screen, by the way, just so you know. Um, we're back up on the high. Just gonna cover for the possibility of some snow, and we'll just leave it at that.
I I've read this now 3 times. This is the discussion. We're all wondering here, why is it that they have all of these significant snow or possible accumulating snow inland, especially, or instead of being right along the coast? So I went to the WPC winter forecast, and they have the winter discussion here. This is for day 3 now, and they have digging 500 millibar shortwave trough over the mid-south Saturday evening. Will move through the southeast by early Sunday near the entrance regions of the northern and southern jet. Frontal boundary astride the coastal plain may carry a weak area of low pressure just off the coast, which the models continue to waver on, intensify, phasing, track. Trend has been toward, I should say, a somewhat suppressed system. See, that was what we were saying. I mean, if a somewhat suppressed system would mean a track more to the south and to the east. He said trend has been toward a more suppressed system, but confidence is on the low side given the inconsistency. Regardless, broad forcing will support rain, snow over the area. Rain, snow, Joe, not just snow.
Yeah.
Rain, snow over the area Sunday as colder air pushes eastward, enhanced over the Central Appalachians, Blue Ridge in Virginia. Breadth of Ensemble Solutions, Mrs. Ensembles.
Yes, bless her heart.
Maintains a low chance, 10 to 20%, from Maryland northeastward and 10 to 40% across eastern West Virginia and Western Virginia of 4 inches or more of snow. This was written by the senior branch forecaster, Tony Fracasso. So we're not just talking about a regular forecaster, we're talking about a senior forecaster. And this all I could say is this discussion I just read to you is full of words, no music, and signifies nothing.
Nice. I was just going to remain silent, but you've taken your position.
It tells me nothing.
Yeah, it really does.
I read this thing. I read 3 times this thing, and I'm saying to myself, so tell me why, Tony, You want the snow inland instead of along the coastal plain. And he doesn't tell me anything. He uses terms like inconsistency. He's using terms like wavering on intensity, phasing track, or whatever. But he doesn't tell me right out why he's going 50 miles north and west as opposed to where all the models are saying this thing would be grazing the coast or being right along the coast. It tells me nothing. Maybe we'll have something different to say tomorrow, but we won't because we're not going to be on tomorrow.
Right.
So there you go.
Well, look, if
you're all on your own tomorrow,
if this is going to wind up trending, if the upper feature is going to wind, because that's really the most important thing here is the upper feature. If the upper feature is going to trend, it's going to start being sharper and deeper, and a little bit further to the west, and maybe it pulls that ocean low. Not that I don't think it would pull it anywhere close enough where it'd be a factor, but if it pulled the ocean low a little further west, if we're going to see it, you're probably going to start to see hints of it during the overnight runs, and certainly if it's going to show up, you will see it on the day runs tomorrow. So we'll see what we'll get. We're going to go into that window now where models start jockeying around for extra position here. I saw Brandon Doherty. I don't know if you mentioned him, Joe. He hit Super Chat just now, unless you got him earlier. I wasn't sure whether you
No, I didn't. Brandon Doherty, and also the chairman, who wants to remind everybody on the chat board that on Sunday we are going to have a special cooking Super Bowl Jeopardy with the lovely Mrs. Rayo. So that's something. Many of you are looking forward to the big game, but maybe some of you will be looking forward to tuning in and having a pre-Super Bowl treat with Mrs. Rayo, Mr. Chiaffi, and a Super Bowl cooking Jeopardy.
Jim Meyer, you're a new name on the chat board. Welcome, asking why do I still have the Christmas tree up? I also have my trains up underneath the Christmas tree because
he can do it, Jim.
That's right. And
it's his house and it's his tree.
Yes, my I want my house to be for my grandsons when they come to visit. It'll be always Christmas at Pop Pop's house. So I decided to leave the tree up, and That's pretty much it, and I kind of like it actually. It gives the room a happy feeling. I've got trains on the top of my kitchen cabinets that are part of the decor here, and I got a carpenter going to come over and look at the possibility of putting a shelf all around this big room that you see behind me, going all the way around, so I could run trains around the right up there, all up there. So we'll see. And you're right. It's my house. I can do what I want. All right, let's do Briller Jeopardy and call it a day. Okay. So tonight, Joe. First off, to correct last night, I was correct. The year that he was referring to was the wrong year, 66. It was actually 1972. Cabaret won most of the Oscars that year in 1972, but The Godfather won Best Picture. So that was 1972 and not 1966, which was won by The Sound of Music.
Am I mistaken? Didn't Marlon Brando win Best Actor for The Godfather in 72?
And he turned it
down. Didn't he? And he turned it down, and there was an Indian who came out instead. Sharon Littlefeather or whatever. And
yeah,
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, he used it to make a political statement. Okay, so here we go.
Can you believe that was? Could you believe that was 50 years ago, Joe?
Yeah, isn't that something? Exactly. The days are an eternity, and the years just fly by, as a wise person once told me. So here we go. The average snowfall for February, Joe, of the 10 cities. We want the average snowfalls for these cities for the month of February, beginning with Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, I will say. Didn't we do this?
I don't. These are different.
Didn't we do this?
Yes, but these are different cities.
Are you sure?
Oh.
How about this?
No.
Philadelphia, 5 inches.
8.4. Pittsburgh.
8.4. Then we didn't do it. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I think would actually be less than Philadelphia. I'll say 6.
11.7.
Where am I going wrong here all of a sudden?
Pittsburgh gets lake effect. Memphis.
Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee. How about 4?
1.
1.
Detroit.
I'm dying. Ooh, I'm dying out here tonight.
Yes.
Detroit. Detroit. 16.
12.5.
All right.
Atlanta.
Well, a little closer.
Atlanta.
Atlanta. 1.
0.4. Buffalo.
0.4. All right. Buffalo. Buffalo. 22.8.
18.1.
All right.
Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. I will say 1.3.
0.9. Raleigh,
0.9.
Raleigh,
Right.
North Carolina.
Raleigh, North Carolina. Question: why is it that in the entire run, there must have been like 300 episodes, the entire run of the Andy Griffith Show, not once did we ever see a situation where they had any kind of snow in Mayberry, RFD?
Did they? I don't even remember seeing
never any
where it
snow.
rained. Were there episodes where it rained?
I remember there was one episode where they wanted rain, they needed rain, and it's only very vague in my memory. So how much? Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. I will say for Raleigh, Durham, 3.3.
1.4. St. Louis.
1.4. St. Louis. St. Louis. Emma.
Yes, exactly.
Here's your Sammy boy. St. Louis. I will say 4.2.
Oh, very good, Joe. 4.3. And last but not
Oh wow.
least, Baltimore.
Baltimore. What did we say for Philadelphia again? 8 point something.
Philadelphia was 8
Philly
point
was 8.
something. Yeah, 8.
Yeah,
8.4.
So how about if I go for Baltimore? How about if I go 4.1?
Actually, Baltimore's high for February, 7.5. And the bonus question is, on December 26, 2010, Atlantic City recorded its largest 24-hour snowfall record. What was that record and within 5 inches?
Well, that was the Boxing Day, right? The Boxing Day snowstorm in 2010.
Yes, that's the Boxing Day.
And you're asking now for the
Atlantic City
amount that fell in Atlantic City,
right, which is their
in Frantic City,
which is their 24-hour snowfall record.
Wow. You think of all of the storms that we lived through, Joe, like the blizzard of 78, and I remember the blizzard of 78, they had 3 inches in 1 hour. And they still, that storm in 2010 was the one that was the all-time, huh?
Yep.
Well, let's see. How about, I'll say 18.7.
Very close. Very close. 18.4.
Wow.
And special thanks to the chairman. I think that we did do that. We did it last time. It was the month of January that we did it, not the month of February. So
probably.
Anyway. All right.
Yeah.
So coming up on 8:25 Eastern time, and let's see, we only have 96 likes, so we can get 104. Just clicked for me. Okay, so we're over 100.
105 here.
Okay, great. So it's time to say goodbye. Joe and I are, barring an incredibly huge surprise, and I don't expect an incredibly huge surprise over the next couple of days. We're going to take the next 2 off like we usually do, and we will be back on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So if there is something going on, we may be in the thick of it. Joe and I will be in the thick of it. I don't think it's going to be, you could say the same for most people in the snow, because I'm just thinking we're probably not going to see very much, but no matter. But there you go. So do join us on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The Super Bowl is later in the day, and we'll prep you with a Renata and a cooking with a cooking Jeopardy, and we'll go from there. So nighty night, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks for all the super chat hits, by the way. Most appreciated here by Joe and I. And we'll see you on Sunday. Night.
Good night.